The year is 1937. Shanghai, a bustling metropolis, stands as a symbol of modernity and tradition, a city where East meets West. Its streets are filled with the hum of rickshaws and the clatter of trams, a vibrant tapestry of life. The world watches as storm clouds gather over Europe. The rise of fascism and the looming threat of war cast a long shadow over the continent. Nations brace themselves for the inevitable conflict that seems to be drawing closer with each passing day. But on the other side of the globe, a different kind of storm is brewing. In the heart of Asia, tensions are escalating and the winds of change are beginning to howl. The region is on the brink of a transformation that will alter its destiny forever. In Asia, the seeds of conflict have been sown for years. The vast countryside, with its hard-working farmers and ancient traditions, is now a battleground for competing ideologies and ambitions. The struggle for power and control is intensifying. Japan, a nation hungry for resources and power, sets its sights on its neighbor, China. The Japanese military, with its disciplined soldiers and advanced weaponry, is preparing for a campaign of conquest and domination. For years, Japan had been expanding its empire. From the islands of the Pacific to the mainland of Asia, the Japanese flag now flies over vast territories. The ambition of the Japanese Empire knows no bounds. It had already seized control of Korea and Manchuria. These regions, rich in resources and strategic importance, are now under Japanese rule. The people of these lands live under the watchful eye of their new overlords. Now, it looked towards the heart of China itself. The vast and populous nation, with its ancient civilization and rich history, is the next target for Japanese expansion. The stage is set for a monumental clash. The Chinese people, divided by internal strife, were ill-prepared for the Japanese war machine. The ongoing civil war between the nationalists and communists has weakened the nation, leaving it vulnerable to external threats. The incident that lit the fuse of this conflict occurred on the night of July 7th, 1937. It was a moment that would change the course of history, a spark that ignited a firestorm. It happened near a bridge just outside of Beijing, then called Peking. The Marco Polo Bridge, an ancient structure with a storied past, became the flashpoint for a new and devastating war. Japanese and Chinese troops exchanged fire. The sounds of gunfire and explosions shattered the night, signaling the beginning of a brutal and protracted conflict. The exact circumstances remain murky to this day. Was it a planned attack or a tragic misunderstanding? The truth is lost in the fog of war, but the consequences were all too real. Was it a misunderstanding, a provocation? The questions linger, but the answers are elusive. What is clear is that this incident set off a chain reaction that would engulf the region in violence. Whatever the spark, the powder keg of Asia was about to explode. The world would soon witness the horrors of a new and devastating conflict, one that would leave an indelible mark on history. Two armies prepared to clash. The tension was palpable as both sides readied themselves for what would be a defining moment in history. The air was thick with anticipation, and the world watched with bated breath. On one side stood the National Revolutionary Army of China, led by Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang, a determined and resilient leader, had the monumental task of uniting a fragmented nation against a formidable foe. The Chinese were numerous but poorly equipped. Their sheer numbers were a testament to their resolve. But their lack of modern weaponry posed a significant challenge. Many of their weapons were outdated, relics from previous conflicts. This disparity in technology would prove to be a critical factor in the battles to come. Their troops were often undertrained, hastily assembled from various regions. Despite their lack of formal training, their spirit and determination were undeniable. But they were determined to defend their homeland. The Chinese soldiers, driven by a deep sense of patriotism, were ready to lay down their lives for their country.
Facing them was the Japanese Imperial Army, a force that had been meticulously trained and equipped for modern warfare. A modern and ruthless fighting force, the Japanese soldiers were well prepared and highly disciplined. Their training regimens were rigorous, ensuring that each soldier was battle-ready. The Japanese military was battle-hardened, having already seen action in various conflicts. Their experience gave them a tactical edge on the battlefield. They were equipped with tanks, powerful machines that could decimate enemy lines and provide crucial support to infantry units. Airplanes capable of delivering devastating air raids and artillery, which could bombard enemy positions from a distance, further bolstered their arsenal. They believed in their own racial superiority, a dangerous ideology that fueled their aggression and justified their expansionist ambitions, and were determined to crush any resistance. The Japanese soldiers, driven by a sense of duty and indoctrination, showed no mercy in their campaigns.
Shanghai, a bustling metropolis, was more than just a city. It was a symbol of China's aspirations and its struggle to modernize amidst internal and external pressures, and a symbol of China's growing modernity with its towering buildings and vibrant streets. Shanghai represented the future that China was striving towards. Became the focal point of this conflict. Its strategic location and economic significance made it a prime target for both sides. The city was a crucial port and economic hub for China. Control over Shanghai meant control over vital supply lines and economic resources. Its loss would be a devastating blow, not just militarily but also economically. The fall of Shanghai would cripple China's ability to sustain its war effort. For Japan, capturing Shanghai would be a propaganda victory. It would showcase their military prowess and demoralize the Chinese resistance. It would also cripple China's ability to resist. The fall of Shanghai would mark a turning point, setting the stage for further Japanese advances into Chinese territory. On August 13, 1937, the Battle for Shanghai began. Japanese warships bombarded the city. Their planes rained bombs from the sky. Chinese defenders fought back with whatever they had. They knew they were outgunned, but were determined to make the Japanese pay for every inch of ground. The battle raged for 3 long months. It was a brutal, close-quarters fight. Soldiers battled street by street, building by building. Civilians were caught in the crossfire. Thousands died. The city was reduced to rubble.
The Chinese defenders, though lacking in firepower, fought with incredible tenacity. They knew their city, and they used that to their advantage. They tied down the Japanese, inflicting heavy casualties. But the Japanese were relentless. They poured in more troops and resources. The outcome seemed inevitable.
One particularly brutal episode unfolded at a warehouse complex known as the Sihang Warehouse. This location, situated on the northern bank of Suzhou Creek, became a focal point of intense conflict during the Battle of Shanghai. A small force of Chinese soldiers, outnumbered nearly 10 to 1, held off wave after wave of Japanese attacks. These soldiers, known as the 800 Heroes, were actually only about 400 strong, but their tenacity and courage made them seem like a much larger force. Their bravery, broadcast over the radio, captivated the world and became a symbol of Chinese resistance. The international community, listening to the broadcasts, was moved by the determination of these soldiers who fought against overwhelming odds.
Another key battle took place at the strategically important town of Luodian. This town, located just north of Shanghai, was crucial for controlling the supply routes and maintaining the flow of reinforcements and resources. The Japanese hoped to capture the town and cut off Chinese supply lines. Their strategy was to isolate the Chinese forces in Shanghai and force a surrender by cutting off their essential supplies. But the Chinese fought ferociously. The battle for Luodian was marked by intense hand-to-hand combat and relentless artillery bombardments. They held on for a week, inflicting heavy losses on the Japanese. The Chinese defenders, though outgunned and outnumbered, managed to repel the Japanese forces multiple times, causing significant casualties. The delay bought precious time for the Chinese to regroup. This week-long resistance allowed the Chinese command to reorganize their forces and plan their next moves, buying them crucial time in the larger context of the war.
Despite these acts of heroism, the Chinese were slowly being ground down. The relentless pressure from the Japanese forces, combined with their superior weaponry, began to take a toll on the Chinese defenders. The Japanese, with their superior firepower and seemingly endless reserves of men, were gradually gaining the upper hand. Their advanced artillery and air support gave them a significant advantage in the prolonged engagements. The fall of Shanghai seemed imminent. As the Japanese forces continued their advance, the situation for the Chinese defenders became increasingly dire, and the once bustling city of Shanghai faced the grim reality of occupation.